Well, yeah, it's a bit nippy, but yeah, we're ready to rock and roll. Can hang on as per normal for a couple of minutes, about 9:30. Expecting to be a bit quiet today, to be honest. Morning, morning, morning. Another couple of seconds, we can get started. Okay, 5:30, we can get started. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be fairly quiet today. I think as it's PPI's coming out. A lot of people confuse the PPI with the CPI. The PPI, if you want to do a special trade of your own, you can. We won't be doing a trading room one on it, but it will move a little bit. The crude oil inventory is coming out again later on. The most important ones, you know, is the interest rate decision later on. more and more leaning towards no increase, which the banks and most people will be fairly happy with, I think. Okay, so it's going to be fairly quiet. We had a discussion this morning, as we normally do, just after 8 o'clock, our own, and unless we can find a really good trade, it might be a bit quiet on the Western front, as they say. Gerard, I'm glad to hear you mentioned about the USD CAD. But it's up to you. But I'm going to avoid most of those at the moment because the Q&A could be quite interesting as a result. And sometimes you get movements which don't always make a lot of sense when these sort of things occur. I just want to touch on yesterday's CPI. Yes, it was disappointing. Not disappointing from the trading perspective, which it was. Yeah, of course. But I'm talking about the result. As I mentioned many times, please understand that if it comes out as expected, it sounds strange, this, but that's not what you want. You want a difference between the actual and the expected figures to get some sort of movement. And clearly what happened yesterday, you could see it was complete indecision. It jumped around all over the place, didn't know what to make of it. And even became even stranger because I thought gold would therefore go up a little bit because the dollar started to weaken a bit. And then gold came off. So basically, I listened to Bloomberg like I normally do in the morning, and they're saying more or less the same thing. The market just didn't know what to make of where to go from there. And that's why it was jumping around quite a bit. Just remember, it happens occasionally. Again, we've got to get our volumes right. Nothing's guaranteed. But overwhelmingly, as the past has shown in proof, those CPI and non-farm do work out quite profitably. It's great to see some guys actually made a couple of bucks out of it because it was one of those times where it was just jumping around. So it's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's just the market decision. Just bear that in mind. Okay. Sometimes it's correct to blame yourself, but sometimes stand back and say it's not your own fault. Okay, so just wanted to go over that, but don't despair if it didn't go too well. Most of the time it does, and I'm happy with 75–80% probability. Yeah, so that's fine. Okay, as I say, it's going to be fairly quiet today. A couple of guys here. It's going to be fairly quiet today. If you find something great, we'll certainly look at it. I'm looking maybe at the Euro CHF. Maybe a bit of downside, but it is a bit of resistance there. I'm not jumping up and down. It's not a eureka trading moment. Let's have a look at the range here quickly. Just give me a second. No, it's just very tight range. That's too tight a range. Again, indecision. So I'm not so keen anymore. Always look at the candle to see the range. You might think, this looks like a good buy or sell. But you look at the last 2-3 days or 5 days or 4 days or whatever, and if you see there's not a heck of a lot happening, probably you don't want to be in it because, as I say, it's frustrating being in a traffic jam. I like that it's sort of simile. You don't want to be stuck in a traffic jam. You just bought your fancy new car. It can do 0 to 60 in half a second flat or something ridiculous, and there you're stuck in a traffic jam. And there's not much movement. It's tying your money up, and it's not going anywhere. So unfortunately, I think that's going to be the situation going forward. A lot of people ask, would you a straddle trade on it? No. Interest rate at all will certainly very, very high probability, very, very likely will be zero change. Okay. Just a bit at the moment, funny, I must admit. Yeah. And the JPY did quite good. You're quite right. But as I say, the Q&A afterwards, just be aware of that. So it can jump the markets around. So just be aware. Okay. Yeah, I don't quite know why the Swiss franc is. It seems to be at the moment. I still think a lot of it's emotional. The trade is on the Credit Suisse problem. Rationally speaking, I know I keep on about emotions, but rationally speaking, that's what we discount. They got a rescue act, and yeah, so I think that's just more emotion than rationality, and so I can't really comment too much on that finding, guys. I don't think it's going to last. Go on, listening.
Roger, the only thing that I can think of is that smart money, big traders, do not have any confidence currently as yet in the amalgamation of that bank or the takeover. So up to now, really, out of the last 10 trades of the Swissy, I lost 7 that hit my stop loss. So
Yeah.
I personally think this is really, for me, I need to sit aside on the sideline and just have a look and see what's pan out for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I hear you big time. And I think you might have a point on the smart money there. That might is a good point. It might be. I'm just guessing like you are there, because I'm trying to find some rationality in it, and that means maybe they don't have as much confidence. But I'm personally, yeah, you've had a bit of a rough time of it. We all have on that Swiss franc, to be honest. So maybe just leave it alone, let it settle down, and when some sense comes back into it, we can start buying it up again, and yeah, take it from there. Yeah, I can't really argue with that. And I think quite frankly, it's quite a good point. So yeah, yeah, that's persuaded me. Move along. Okay. Right. Normally, talking about moving along, gold. Normally speaking, that's a buy. I think we'd all agree on that. I'm surprised it came off as much as it did. I got caught in the sell trade and I got lucky, actually, to be honest, with it. But it made no sense to me. But I'll take the bucks as we all do. But I see upside. So the only thing I'm a bit worried about is it might be a bit quiet going forward to tonight's interest rate decision. But if you want to do an aggressive trade, you do see some upside, basically, or just technically. Overall, I see gold going down the line, taking up $2,000 and more. When, I don't know. But at the moment, range trading, and I do see some upside. So if you guys want to take a bit of an aggressive one on that one, you can. Don't go in too big, but I think there's some probability of an upside on that one. Just tapping it out there. As I say, it's not a eureka moment, but just tapping it out there to have a look at. And if you feel like being aggressive, maybe you can do it. But what do you think about that? I'm more and more thinking I'm so long what Mr. Murray said there. I think we'll just give the Swiss franc a bit of a break. It's given us all a bit of a hard time, and wait till it settles down. And I think then we can, those sort of lows in the Swissy, we can start buying it up again. So we'll give it a miss going into next week. Good idea. Okay, the Brent trade didn't go too badly, and the AUD CHF is not too bad. But if you want to do the gold, I'll put an R up. If not, I'll move on. Okay, morning, Chris. Yeah, I don't do it, but I don't know why. If you ask me why, I'm going to turn around and say, got a bit lucky there in the end. Made no sense. I don't know, the older guys, the young guys might not have heard of this guy, but the older guys probably will. Is that American actor, he's unfortunately died now, quite popular in the 60s, 70s, a guy called James Garner. He did Maverick and the Rockford Files, etc. And I never forgot this. He was in a film called Wheeler Dealers. And he famously said in that film, I just love sales in American accent. It doesn't make any sense, but you can make a lot of money. And that sort of sums it up. So to be honest, Dirk, I got a bit lucky. Oh, you remember? Yeah, the Maverick was a film made with, what's his name? What's his name again? The guy's name, you know, that chap, yeah. But Mel Gibson, that's right. But James Garner, as an obviously much older guy, as a recent film, made a sort of cameo appearance because he was the original Maverick. It was a series that was quite popular, very popular, in fact, in the 60s. I think 70s, 80s, the Rockford Files. But Farley and that would have heard of James Garner. The younger guys probably know what I'm talking about. Very popular then. But anyway, so yeah, so basically, I got lucky there. I nearly closed the bloody thing. Oh, this is ridiculous. But I thought, sod it, put a stop loss in, and if it gets out of hand, and thing came right. I took it pretty damn quick. Say, don't take your profit too quick. Trust me, I did. I thought this makes no sense. I'm out of here. At least in a slight blue there, but no skill at all. Pure luck. Great. Now we're getting back to some practical stuff here. Basically, yes, I do. Did you get, I don't know what price you got in. Did you get the signal price, about 72 odd rand or whatever it was? Absolutely. Yes, I do. Yeah, a bit above this, a bit above your break-even point to account for costs, etc. In fact, I'm going to stick my neck out of there and say 73 bucks. If, hang on, I forgot. That was the trade signal sent out the following day. The one in the trading room was 73.10, if I remember rightly. So if you start getting it sort of like a dollar difference, it is a bit on the close side with Brent. And I think it's a possibility. Hang on, I'm sorry, I'm talking and I'm thinking, but hang on, it actually could affect it tonight as well. So yeah, I think protect yourself. Okay, I've come to a decision here, guys. At 73.50, the stop loss. If you get stopped out, you made a buck, but I don't want it too cute because anything could happen tonight. These fundies drive me mad, but rather protect yourself against it. So yeah, sorry about the waffle eggs. I was thinking about speaking. Yeah, I think 73.50, then you're all covered, whatever happens, and see if you can get a bit more out of it. Okay. Well, then if you remember yesterday's, you got a better price, simple as that. Okay, good. ADCHF, that's sort of drifting along. It's back up a little, very much drifting along. Sort of a 15-minute chart. Yeah, I was doing okay earlier on. Now it's just popped up again. Seems to be the name of the game at the moment. But that was about the entry point. On the hour, it seems to be holding there, so it might drift down again. Pretty quiet, but at least it's okay. Okay. Aha, yeah, you're right there, Brady. I hope you're going to forget about that. We did talk several days ago about the 1850 buy area, and I was a bit hesitant, as I say, a bit of a chicken run job there. But yeah, I'm just thinking my own. I'm sorry to repeat myself, guys. Don't forget, if you're new to this, the dollar rand is a higher margin and higher cost. So just bear that in mind. It's not for guys with small accounts because you won't have enough margin. And don't forget the higher cost. It's called an exotic. I mentioned it before. Just to remind again, it's not a cross or a major. It's an exotic, like a peso or I don't know, the ringgit or whatever. So yeah, but it seems to be holding there. If you got the money, if you got the understanding of it, I agree. Don't forget, I could be a little bit of dollar weakness coming in later on tonight. If there's no interest rate rising and they reckon inflation is looking good, it might get a bit of dollar weakness, don't forget. So remember, you actually buy the dollar if you expect upside, which I think you and I both agree there is some. So just bear that in mind. Let's go to the 4 hour, any particularly there. That seems drifting along. Yeah, it's drifting along. Yeah, so yeah, I hear you, Brady, but just make sure you got enough Tom to do this one and can handle it if it does go astray tonight. The marks away. Yeah, PPI, very much interested. That's the number one, but PPI to a certain extent agreed, yes. I'll get a little more of an indicator. There's something called the Beige Book we're going to get a look at. PPI, GDP, CPI, BBC, ITV, SABC, all this fancy stuff, just to get an idea where the market's going so you can handle a Q&A afterwards, but anything can happen. Right, so look at this. There's a hell of a lot of decimal points here, so just bear that in mind, but we could have just give me a second here. Stop here. I think I'll put it down here. Yeah, 8, yeah, do down there, that's good enough. TP, that's the only thing, you've got to aim higher, otherwise it's not going to be worth your while. I don't want to get too cute, it may be there, maybe make it back to 90. You might go further, you always adjust stop loss, don't forget. So that's got to say. Yeah, that's the only thing. It's a decent risk reward, but yeah, If it gets to the 50 and gives you some problems, it's not pushing through or whatever, you can take it. But remember, it's $200 a micro, and it is a cost of increase. Is higher costs and the higher margins. It's in the region of about 500-600 rand on 100-to-1 account for the margin. Don't forget. So I'm just very strongly suggesting guys are brand new to it, and certainly guys are less than 3 or 4K. Rather not get too cute with it. And even on top of that, this is a little bit of the PPI and more to the point interest rates coming out. There's a little bit, we'll be a bit wary of it. But yeah, I tend to other than that, I tend to agree. Okay. I'm not going to go for it, to be honest, Brady. No, I'm going to wait. But I'm not against it. Yeah. But I think I might be a bit thick in there. But if you do like it, yeah, I think this could be some upside there. Yeah. But we have mentioned a couple of days, and you're quite right, almost spot on, Will, Brady, about 1850. You mentioned not now, it's easy now, but I mean beforehand, last week, in fact. So I think you got that one right. So if you want to, it is just make sure you can afford it. So there we are. Okay. Okay, fair enough. Shall I write this down? Mike seems to be interested, but anybody keen to do it, or should we it's just sit in the hands or whatever? Any comments? If a couple of guys want to do it, just let me know and I'll put it down. But for the record, I like it, but I'm not going to do it. Yeah. You see, the thing is, a bit of strength around's crept in because the load shedding's come down. Quite a few reasons for that, which I'm probably aware of. They've got some other areas coming online to help out, and they've kind of a little bit of the bureaucratic higher ups, etc. But yeah, so it's not great, but it's a lot better than it was. And the biggest thing was the fear it might go to 12 hours a day going into winter. In fact, it's got better going into winter. So well, clearly what they're saying, the outside world, we're trying to do something about it, guys. Not just talk anymore, but actually trying to do something about it, which is add to a little bit of rand strength. And I think a bit of a pullback because it's a bit ridiculous at 20 as a dollar. I mean, just a little bit over the top. But yeah, not something to play with if you're of a nervous disposition. They stop looting it. Not sure they'll ever stop looting it, something like that. No. Maybe they're looting it less. Yeah. Okay. We'll move on then. Yeah, sorry, it's going to be a bit quiet today, like I said. It's going to. I tell you what, we can do. I'll put some new guys in there. I think you've all got it, but I can't see everybody, so I'll put it up anyway. Economic calendar. I'm sorry it takes. If you all got it, I do it every time, but no, I mean one person picks it up. It's useful. It doesn't take a long time. It's going to the dollar index as well, and put my name. I think you've all got it anyway, but I'll just anyway. Put my number up. Give me a moment here. It is going to be a bit quiet, so let's take this opportunity. Give you these here to save, and my number. Okay, right, there we go. Just quickly again, don't forget, save your charts. I'll try and make a habit of doing this every time, just in case there's someone new doesn't know this. Now right click in the blank place on the screen on the chart, click on save on template, put your name in, it eventually does come up. Yeah, put your name in there and then save it. So if you do lose your charts for whatever reason, at least you have it handy there, saved. Okay. Don't forget, if you want any information, you right click on the instrument or symbol of choice, and then you left click on specification. It gives you the properties or the information on that particular area there. As I say, it's going to be fairly quiet. AUD is on the right, and the resistance might move again in the morning and close above. But I agree. Yeah, I agree. We'll have a look at that tomorrow. Simple as that. Okay, sounds good to me. Okay, so if anyone wants any questions to ask, a bit of a forum, anything you're not sure of, anything we speak about a lot and you're not quite sure what it means, maybe we'll spend a bit of time on that if you like, because sorry guys, I'm a little bit nervous of getting too cute. And I'm going to be honest again, I was a little bit nervous after CPI jumping around yesterday. A lot of it doesn't make sense. Finally, you'll be with me on this one. We like to see some rationale. We don't mind getting it wrong, but it's got to be some sort of logical rationale. When you take complete rational logic out of it, I get very nervous. You know what I mean? And that's what I think.
I agree with you, Roger. I have a question. I see the yields did creep up from 3.76 yesterday morning, and it's currently up to 3.819. With the CPI exactly the same and the forecast of the interest rates being the same, what will the effect be? Will it increase further, the yields? Will the dollar get down? I'm slightly confused currently with all this market speculations.
Join the club. Yeah, in theory, and I repeat, in theory, if it stays the same, remember it's expected to stay the same, it'll be said, okay, now we know it's going to stay the same. There should actually be a little bit of a weakness in the dollar coming through. What's happened to the 10-year note and some of the longer term bonds? They might, in my opinion, strengthen a little bit, which should, in theory, have a little bit of downside on the yields. So I think I'm expecting a little bit of upside on gold and a little bit of downside on the dollar and the yields. But am I confident to recommend you, never mind me putting money into it? No. I'm very nervous. As just mentioned there, that CPI jumping around, etc. And especially, funny enough, I got out of jail on that one, the gold, because that was my fat finger and made a bit of a mistake playing around with it there. I was just pure luck. But I'd be honest, it's sort of a silly thing to say. I'd rather have lost with sense than got lucky, because I can work things out with rationality, but you can't rely on luck. You know what I'm saying? So that gold coming off as well didn't make a lot of sense yesterday. It should have actually stayed the same or gone up a little bit on that information. So at the moment, I'm extremely nervous when you got this sort of directionless non-understanding. And I'm backing up, not just me, but Bloomberg this morning said there's a lot of people scratching their head at some of market movements. Some try to rationalize it, but I think just grasping for stuff. At the moment, I think just take it easy. You get several trades, sometimes the time to sit in your hands and wait it out and see tomorrow really what the market is going to try and make of the way going forward. Okay, and the political upheaval they got in the States as well is not helping matters. Okay, it's getting, the whole thing's getting a bit out of control in the Americas. You probably, if you follow what happens over there. You know what I'm saying? It's not with support or don't, but clearly a Trump witch hunt onto the scare. I'm using the word shitless in case he does get elected. So the powers that be, the ones that control the media, you know, the billionaire control the information source, are pulling out all the guns to try and stop this in its tracks. So it's not about democracy. It's not about right or wrong. It's not about left or right. It's a power play, and it's affecting everybody. And it's not pretty. The legal system is being misused. Everything. It's not good.
Maybe they try to follow the South African lead on the legal system misusing.
What about South Africa? Sorry, what about South Africa?
The USA maybe follow our lead because I think South Africa is on top with misusing the legal system.
Yeah. What can I say? Yeah, but you hear what I'm saying? It's with all due respect, South Africa in world affairs, it's quite a small player. This is the #1 player, and it's not a great example. It just shows again is the power is corrupt. What's that one? Power corrupts absolutely, and it doesn't matter where you come from. It seems to be the name of the game. And yeah, I'm not a legal beagle myself, but from guys who seem to look like Dershowitz, who's Professor Dershowitz. You might have heard of him. He's actually a Democrat, but he's very against the way it's being run at the moment. And legally, it's no. Anyway, can't see a great way of putting it. It's not a good example to set, and it's not a good effect in the markets. Yeah. Okay, yeah, but getting back to Brady, depends what happens out there, but I think there could be a little bit of a move down here technically, but anything could happen. In fact, technically, it's probably a bit of a buy, so I don't know. Yeah, as you can see, I'm stuttering a bit here. Yeah, when things like that happen, you've been with me in the trading room for a while, guys. I just think I'm going to sit back and see. Wait it out, sort of thing.
I agree with you, but I would like to know from all the traders, do anybody know why the Aussie is so strong currently? Australian dollar.
Yeah, I heard you. Wait, the others to mention or whatever. That makes no sense to me. One of the reasons why oil hasn't really been taken up as much as it should be, because the biggest importer of oil in the world is China, and they're going through a bit of a problem. They've got a close relationship, financially speaking, Australia. So in theory, Australian dollar should be weakening a bit. Don't talk about interest rate increase. That's a couple of weeks. That's all been discounted to the market. I have no idea. No idea. Theory, Australian dollar should be selling it at the moment, anyway.
Oh, because if you look on the watch list there, the Australian dollar is strong or increased against all the other major currencies.
Yeah. No clue, no idea. And I'm putting my hand up, I don't know. Rationally speaking, that's a short. But as I say, I don't know. Yeah, that's what I say. If it's not making a lot of sense, guys, if it doesn't make much sense to the highly paid Bloomberg analysts, I get that right, who we just try to get too cute with it. So, yeah.
No, that trade gives me headaches. AUD.
Yeah, it is, because it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you're not really losing on it. It's not going anywhere. I mean, what is... You don't know, I don't know, Bloomberg doesn't know. Yeah. So, what can I say? Sorry, I'm not trying to get negative or whatever. I'm just trying to be upfront and honest. When times like that, you scratch your head. You know what I'm saying? Because you've got it. The idea is not a gamble. It's to get some skill on your side, to get it on your, when you do it. When The market's all over the place. The people out there don't know. The traders not sure what's coming or going. I think the best thing is just to keep the ink dry and wait. And remember, not really losing on this one. All right, the CHF, probably less said about that, but better at the moment. But that's going to come to the party. I'm very confident of that part. At least the Brent's doing okay. You got your stops modified into okay zone, so you should be okay with that. Don't chase it now, but it's not a trade idea. If you're not in it, leave it. But at least you're protected on that one. So yeah. So we had a discussion this morning about trade ideas, and with the Euro CHF, but I'm going to give it a miss. And there you are, Euro CHF. There we are. So yeah, any comments, guys? If anyone there's got some sort of understanding of it, or can get some rationalization of it, please to hear. Because like yesterday's gold, that was luck. That was nothing to do. I wouldn't have been buying that. I just did a fat finger and I got lucky. I meant, you know, it should have been a buy. So, yeah, I'd rather be lose when I get it wrong than get lucky, because you've got to have some sort of action. So if anyone's any questions, discuss stuff, we can. Okay, fair enough. I haven't really been looking much at the stocks lately, because it's like the NAS and the Dow just keep going up, and I don't know, maybe it's the big excitement before it falls off, but I mean, it just seems to be, I think 15,000 seems to be the way it's going to go. But again, I don't know how that can economically out there keep propping it up so high. Oh, I see what you're talking about now. Sorry, Petra, if you're on about that. That might be a reason. I didn't know about that. Okay, so that's not a bad one. That might be it. It's like the economy didn't do too badly in South Africa because it got quite a lot of money from commodity increase in prices, so it helped it out. But again, more luck than judgment. But yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, that might be it. I don't need better, so I'm going to go along with that. See. At least there's some rationality coming up on that, yeah. But yeah, that just seems to be defying gravity at the moment. But I'm not so sure how long it's going to take. And again, I'm leaving the NAS alone, but I'm waiting to press the button because I think it's going to come. I think it might get to 15,000. I think it'll hover around there. I'll be surprised if it goes further up, but who knows? Well, it did surprise them. That's correct. But that was a week or two ago. So that did surprise, but that's old news now. But yeah, this one is a strong possibility, in my opinion, be a confirmation. I wouldn't get cute today anyway, but maybe we can look at, if not tomorrow, maybe going into Monday or something. But I think I'm expecting that to come up. Oh, don't forget, by the way, guys, no trading room or class of any sort on Friday. I was happy to do a trading room Friday morning because the world market's still open, but the office said no, we're not having one. So we're not having one on Friday. So bear that in mind. Okay.
Maybe you're too expensive to work on a PPH, Uncle.
Well, there we are. Then. That's exactly the reason. I think 10,000 rand an hour, I'm quite cheap, but a lot of people don't seem to agree. No.
You forgot one note. 100 sounds more like your style.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, make it $10,000 then. Okay.
Jokes aside, Roger.
Yeah.
With Ford this afternoon, our stop loss is $14.20, and listening to you, the probability for the NAS to increase to 15,000. I just would like maybe to play it safe and increase my stop loss on Ford to 1450.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's not part of the NAS, it's part of the Dow, but I take your point. Anything could happen, as I mentioned many times. There's not much you can do about it right now. It only opens at 3:30, so you can't do anything at the moment. I'm not in favor of increasing risk by moving the stock away from entry. modifying towards to get that. But yeah, I'd hate to see the damn thing stopped out when it's really a little bit on the ridiculously high mark, because yeah, I see downside. I'm not sure. Propellant, we talked about Tesla and Ford getting the electric vehicles out and making some sort of understanding between the two, which obviously lifted it up quite a bit. But I think there's going to be some profit creeping in. I don't know where the stop is. I can't remember actually, but you might not have much choice in matter of it. It might stop you out on entry, and that's the end of that. But yeah, what can I say? I can't tell the guy start modifying your stop away because it's not cool. But it's horrible getting stopped out, and then it does go in your favor. But I think it's going to be some profit take keeping in. Yeah. Anyway, it's that by the by. You have to wait till it opens to see what happens. But I'm not going to verbally, in front of everybody else, encourage you to increase risk. But at the same time, I think it's overcooked. Yeah.
No, it's true, Roger. I completely agree with you. I hate it. It's going against my strategy. But if you look on the 1 hour time frame, the probability for it to increase is just more than 80%. I mean,
yeah. Decrease or
stupid to lose money if you can see what the trend is, rather willing and say on every 10 shares that you bought, you're willing to lose $3 by increasing it to $14.50. That is my line of thinking.
I get exactly where you're coming from, and I tend to agree, but I'm in a slightly different situation sitting here as the host. I can't make that call because other people will pick it up. Okay, right, I'm going to modify the stop loss away, blah, blah, blah. And then it comes out, Roger says you can do it. Now I'm in a rather sticky position. So I've got to take some sort of boring official line on that one, but I totally hear you.
No, okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't want to put you in a spot. I understand.
But yeah. You got to remember, a lot of guys, especially when you're starting, you sometimes don't, I think I'll move on that one, but I hear you. Yeah. Anyway, it might not be a choice anyway, still happens on opening. I'll be honest, I don't think it's going to have much effect on opening because I think the world is waiting for the interest rate decision. So it might be fairly quiet, but I'll leave that in your hands. You can make that choice, etc. Okay. Yeah, it's not a habit it's good to get into because I mean, what we've all done, including myself, and sometimes come to the party, but yeah, it's there's a major worry. Again, it goes back to what if it does come to the party, then you make a habit of doing it, and then the next couple of times it doesn't. Now it's going bad, so then you think, well, I can't get stopped out. I'm too far down. I'll move it again and again and again. And then you're on the way to blowing the account. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to play around like that, you're going to be a hell of a discipline on it. Because that's about the worst thing can happen when you do modify away and increase your risk, and it doesn't quite touch. It goes up a bit, doesn't touch, and then it comes off. Then you become a habit. Every time it gets to stop loss, you move it away because it came right last time, and then the next time it doesn't. Now you can't take the loss because you're too scared now, and then it gets worse. And no, it's not a good habit, no. But if you're disciplined, you can think in your feet, take it out. It's a bit silly of me, but whatever, that's fine. The old idea, anyway, when you work out the position, is with a stop loss to work out your volumes. And if you're going to move it every time, there's not much point doing the calculations anyway.
No,
so for the record, fine income, I can't recommend you modify away, but yeah, you can judge the situation accordingly. And certainly when you're starting, do not do that, for goodness sake, because you will get yourself in a dwang. In other words, finally, I'm sort of really late but trying to get it right, is if you, let's say you could get in now to move it, you've got to be disciplined. If you put the 1450 and it continues to climb, you've just got to accept the increased loss. My worry is guys will say, in for a penny, in for a pound. I put it to 15 to 15.50, and now you got a situation. You get the point.
No, I agree, but that's why risk management is so crucial.
Yeah.
I also don't want to do it because, like Pietru, I was burnt and I wiped out my account twice because of that bad habit that I experienced.
Yeah, and Pietru, as I've been saying as well, is then you get in a situation you can't take the loss, you're running with your losses, and then you do get into trades doing well, you're so scared there'll be another red on it, you take it too quickly. Then your emotions are taking over. So I think rather accept the fact you're not going to win every time, and just accept the pain and try and run with the good ones, you know. Yeah, hope everyone knows what we're talking about. Be a little bit careful, guys, to make a habit of that. Yeah. Rather cut the loss and run with a winner. Yeah. Any questions on that? Anyone agree, disagree? Any comments on that one? And try and look for a good trade. Yeah. All good. Okay. Yeah. Hey, it's quiet today, isn't it? Any guys there who are fairly new, just want to ask a couple of questions or a little bit confused and stuff, or a little bit more clarity, please join in. It's not just for those who've been doing it for a while to get too cute, you know what I mean? Any questions there you'd like just to clarify a bit? Okay, Dirk, yeah. Take it easy on the trades today, eh, Dirk? And then we'll have a look and see who gets some options tomorrow. Okay, any questions there? Martin, Antoinette, and any of those guys like to ask anything? Abdul, some new guys, guys that feel a bit left out. We're chatting amongst ourselves here. Chantel, Lamise is a new guy. Are you good? Any questions you're not sure of, man or lady? Yeah, that did, unfortunately, yeah. We just talked about earlier on, man, regard to Swiss franc. It's Aussie dollars look some strength, not sure why. Swiss franc is in some weakness, not sure why. You mentioned about the mining, I didn't know that might be a factor, but it's got to be more than this Credit Suisse problems, and maybe Farley's right. Lost a bit of faith in the system, I don't know, but it is a bit strange. Okay, great. Right. I have a question about overexposure. Example, Brent, we know the odds of Brent going 70 is very low. Does it not make sense to take a trade with maybe you're all good, Chantel. Great stuff. Right, Brady. I read all frightened of saying things like lose. It's a horrible word, but face up to it. So I have no problem with that if you can afford to take the pain if it doesn't work out. That's the major problem. Remember, you know, when you win, it feels good, but when you don't win, it feels terrible. The emotion of losing is a far more powerful one than the emotion of winning. Basically, it's just, yeah. If you win 1,000 rand, you feel pretty damn good. If you lose it, you feel terrible. It's a more powerful emotion. So you've got to say and be honest with yourself. Yes, if it looks like a highlight, couldn't we done okay with Brent? Let's be honest. I'm going to do Murphy's Law here, but overall, we got most of our Brent trades right. But just say that if you do double up, you've just got to accept the fact that if it doesn't go right, if you panic and start moving your stop loss away, just been talked about, for it to come right, it could be damaging. If you can afford to take the loss, you can. So if you can afford 10 rand, but now you're going to risk 20 rand, or 20 units, or $20, whatever it is, you can afford to take that. I don't have a problem with it. That's the bottom line. Okay. So look that forward. Fine, just give me a second here. AUDCHF has been giving me sleepless nights. Well, it's giving me boring nights. Yeah, it's just no, okay. I don't want to keep saying about modifying the stock. Not much happening on the AUDCHF. Do this quickly. It's about 30. What did we get in on? 33. So I don't know what you should be modifying. The stop loss is at 62.09, which is right out the way. I'm on a 1 hour chart, okay, for the daily. It's right out the way up here somewhere. So you shouldn't be modifying it at the moment. Just let it run. Sleepless nights, I don't know that. Boring nights. It's just not much happening. But no, just let it run. It happens, you know. But you shouldn't be modifying it at this stage. Just leave the strategy that it is. Only start modifying if you get a decent profit to reduce risk to get into the stop loss into profit, whatever happens. If I'm on the right track there. No, I think that's it. Well, just don't get that stop too close. You get a bit worried, and your original stop loss is at 62, wherever it is. It's not happening enough to be modifying it. If you're getting a bit worried, you want to modify it down. You can get it too close. It might pop up, we were just discussing earlier on, because you modified it down, take you out when your original stop loss is a little bit higher, and then it comes off, but you're not on board. I think just leave the damn thing. Leave the trade. The strategy's there. Boring, it's quiet, but it's not negative or positive, it's just quiet, you know. I wouldn't, no, leave it alone. Leave the strategy in place. Yeah, it does, Peter. That unfortunately is frustrating part.
Sorry, Roger, can you discuss with Christopher the EJA, please?
Yeah, I'm looking at that. I'm with pleasure.
I made a mistake. It's not CAD-JPY, it is AUD-JPY.
Yeah, I get that. I just want to read this. Roger, can please repeat when you placed a pending order just you were doing on gold? I'm not sure what you mean by that. When I was doing the strategy straddle trade on the CPI and non-farm payrolls, a buy stop above and a sell stop below, it's just for those with two major fundamentals coming out. Otherwise, you can put in pending orders. I assume you know what a pending order is. It's, well, an order that's pending. If it doesn't get filled, delete it. If it does get filled, you're in a better price. The only thing is you're risking with a pending order. It's not getting filled and it goes in your direction, you're not on board, but that's your choice. But as I say, yeah. That was yesterday's strategy. You know, it's nothing to do with today's normal trading. Okay, if I missed the point, repeat the question, Abdul. Somebody else can maybe assist or whatever, but that's what I'm trying to say. It's a straddle trade is not a buy or sell, it's a straddle trade on trying to get on board other than when a major economic fundamental comes out from the US. Okay, sure, you're golfing. Going golfing, not going fishing, but going golfing. Okay. Right, yeah. This EJS thing is just something we dreamed up here in the trading a couple of months or so ago, wherever it was. The idea behind it is purely the momentum. We're not specifically looking at any fundamental like that, just a momentum. Now, what we do is we go to the daily chart and we look at the brown 200-day moving average and the blue 50 on the daily, not the 100, not in the others. If it's between the two, we ignore it. If it's below the two, we look for a sell. If it's above the two, we look for a buy. Now, it's clearly above those two, so we're looking for a buy. Then we go to the hourly one and see if it's above the 10-hour, not 10-day in this case, 10-hour moving average, which it clearly is. It's only about 4 pips away. You check that. It's about 25 pips above that. It's too far. The ship has sailed. So you come back the momentum and you say, right, it's only about 4 or 5 pips above that. You can do a buy trade. Now, I'm going to contradict myself now, purely on the momentum. But my worry on there, look at all those hours, that tight area is moving. It's not happening at the moment. See what I mean? So 20 pip stop, going back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, nearly 1 day with that kind of tiny, tiny range. It might even come off a bit before going up. The momentum is correct and do it, but I'm not so keen on this particular time, to be honest. But that's how it works, Chris, okay? It's just purely momentum. Look at the daily. If it's in the buy zone, go to the 1 hour. If it's above the maroon or magenta line, rather, not too far above it, you can take a buy on it with a 50 pip stop loss. Work it out at around about, I think it's about $90 a micro. You did in the position side calculator, no TP, and just ride it by a trading stop or modifying it till you eventually get stopped out or it drops below the 10-day moving average. If that's all gobbledygook, you're not sure about it, maybe just leave it. But that being apart there, I don't find that range there. I think I'm a bit hesitant to join it.
Now, I'm also really concerned because on that level, 94 or 95, it was many years ago almost. So it's extremely high. And this is my concern. Christopher, the magenta is a 10-day simple mean average line.
That's correct. But just want to add to that, Farney, it's a 10-day on the daily. If it's on the weekly, it's a 10 weekly. On the hour, it's a 10 times hour. So it's a moving average of 10 multiplied by the candle. So you got on the minute one, I don't really on the minute one, but if you are, it's a 10-minute moving average. Okay.
Correct.
But, yeah, that's correct. And as I say, it's right in those highs, back in the breakthrough. I think the Aussie dollar's overcaught momentum and no momentum. Momentum trade or no momentum trade, I'd leave it. And I personally, I've been saying this for a while, but not being happy yet, is I'm expecting some Japanese yen strength and I expect some Aussie dollar weakness. I buy zone, weak, sell zone, neutrals, I don't care. I'm not going into it, but I'm looking to maybe a bit of a pullback on this one. So I think personally, Farney and Company, I think leave this one alone for the moment.
Thank you. I'm also concerned there will be a discussion on the Bank of Japan on Friday, the government governor.
That's also a very good point. They've got quite a large sum of money. I don't think it's like $80 billion hanging around. If it gets too weak to strengthen a little bit. Remember, as I said before, for export reasons, they like a weaker yen. But the problem with Japan is it imports like China, it's oil. So if it gets too weak, the yen, good for the exports, but they're losing their money on buying all that oil. So they want a little bit of, like it most of them, a bit of a happy medium.
But their production figures that improve as well, that they published. Was it yesterday or the day before?
Yeah, that's also true. Because remember, Japan's got, I'm not talking about sort of, I don't know, Central African Republic or whatever, but I'm talking, countries have got some sort of economic setup going from. It's got the highest debt to GDP rate in the world. And so because of that, they can't do what the Americans, Europeans, blah, blah, blah do by increasing it in South Africa, remember that, increase interest rates because the debt is pretty hectic. So as I say, they've got to export their way out of trouble. Having said that, the oil imports are a major problem. But anyway, we'll see what happens on that. But I still think it's going to strengthen a little bit. Okay. And remember, we talk about South Africa, it's only about 70% debt to GDP. America's about 140%. It's over 200% JPY. You know what I mean? So, yeah. I hope you know what I mean by that. Go and have a look at your own balance sheet. You'll probably find if you're living paycheck to paycheck, that means your debt's out of control. You know what I'm saying? So consensus, we leave this, correct? In fact, keep an eye on it. I think it might be a short coming up, but I'm not going to jump in now. Maybe get into next week. Well, you must ask. I thought you knew that. If you don't, absolutely you must ask. The most important, guys, is the 50 simple and the 200 simple. Okay, very important. It's universally, internationally used, and it reacts as a filter for bi-neutral cell zone and the support resistance. And it gives you some idea what the trend is as well. You can look at it and see if it's a downtrend or sideways or uptrend or whatever. Very important. The 100-day I also like. That's the black line, or the 100 moving average. Remember, it could be an hour or whatever. We're on the daily at the moment, so we'll call it 100-day moving average. That's the black line. Right, going on from there is, I like it, so you do like it, put it on there. Now, the 10 is a personal choice you've been using. Some guys might like the 15 or the 5 or 21 or whatever. That's their personal choice. But I quite like the 10. If you like it, bung it on there. Okay, that's the magenta. Right, so what's the gold, yellow gold one? That came out from Marley. She's on the, if you are, sorry, Marley. Came out, is mentioned one of the problems. Yeah, that's correct. All simple. That's correct. Oh, that's circulatory. So yeah, right. Now, they was just added recently because, as mentioned before, one of the most difficult things in trading is not actually when to enter. That's not easy, but it's when to exit. And Marnie came up with an idea, and she back tested for us that ignoring the NAS, it's much more volatile, but we're talking about currencies here. If you go into a trade and it's above the 8, this is the 8-day exponential moving average. If you get, she says 2 4-hour candles, maybe use a 4-hour, 1 4-hour candle. But if you get, let's say you're long on this guy, yeah, you bought it there, even got your TP there, move it out the way, move your stop loss on, absolutely, and stick with it as it stays above the 8-day exponential moving average. So now it comes off and dips below. She reckoned a 4-hour candle below it is the time to exit. Okay, and I quite like the idea, so that's what I put in. That's the only one that's exponential, and for the reason I gave. But a must-have is a bit of a powerful word, but it's virtually a must-have of the 200 and the 50. Just it's self-fulfilling, just everyone's using it worldwide. As a result of it, it becomes self-fulfilling. If everyone's going to see it, it's going to go up in price, you know what I mean? And or everyone's selling, it's going to go down in price. So very strongly suggest those two, but I suggest less strongly, but I do think they're good, is the 100 and the 10 and the 8, as mentioned. I've just learned from trading, came up with an idea, and I thought, let's have a look at it. And once, if you'd do like them, don't forget to save it. And if sometimes you might want one chart with it and one without, or one with 100-day and one without, you can do different saving of your charts, don't forget. But I think you need the 50 and the 200 and all of them. And it works just about all areas. Let's try and get a better one. What about this one here? This is a 4-hour. It works for all of them. Let's look at the 1 hour. Okay, it works for all of them. Okay, so sometimes you go on the 15-minute, and it has a 50 times 15-minute moving average, and some buyers and sellers will come in on it. So yeah, I think it's important you have them. Well, that clears that one up for everybody, not just Mr. Skippers. All good with that, guys? And you know, I mean, it's up to you, but it just saves cluttering your chart up with too many other indicators. Rather keep it simple, stupid. So when you look at a chart, after a while, a bit of practice, you can get an idea technically what's happening. Fundamentals and emotional movements are you control. I get that, but at least technically get some idea. And don't forget the candle, like I mentioned again, spend a bit of moment on that as well. To me, the candle, never mind all the fancy name, just gives me an indication what the buyers and sellers are doing. If you look at, let's say, a shorter term chart, 50 minutes quite short, it just shows the moment, a few sellers coming in, then you look at the wick, and as it comes off, a few buyers are coming in. You know what I'm saying? So it gives you an idea what the buyers and sellers are doing, whether they're moving it up, or whether there's plenty of downside movement like here, or whether it's sideways. Look at this candle. What's it telling you? It's coming off, buyers are coming in. Come off, buyers coming in. Look at this one. It's just opened at 10:30. Some buyers are coming in. Indecision there, and the short-term chart. So you start thinking, well, the buyers and sellers don't know what they're doing. They're not sure whether it's a good or bad, and that's why I'd rather leave it alone. Remember, you want direction. I hope you're all clear on that. Next time you get in the car with your spouse and you want to go somewhere and you know which way you want to go. So you've got the car running and you're arguing each other because neither can make a decision where you want to go to A or to B. It gets hella frustrating. Same sort of principle.
Roger,
Go for it.
just quickly, I just want to know something. I read some time ago, about a long while back, that like your big institutions like your banks and like Sanlam and Old Mutual, all of them, on a Monday morning, especially, or on a Sunday evening, they put their money into the markets and let it run. And they're looking for all the small traders stop losses so they can knock them out. Is that true in your experience? Would you know anything about that kind of thing?
I don't like making some dance trick, frighten you guys off, but absolutely that's correct. Yes. Remember, we have auction time, a lot of these shares. I'm not talking about Forex, that's too big. Shares, a lot of auction time comes in where you can't buy or sell that time, but they can. So they load that market for it. So absolutely, yes, they do. And especially on JSE shares, because then the volumes aren't anything like the Americans. So to a lesser extent on the American ones, like Apple, is just a different ballgame. But yes, it's very, unfortunately, you're quite correct. It is common practice on JSE stocks, yeah. But we don't have now anyway, so that's just an academic interest, but you're correct. They can push it sheer volumes to grab it, and then off it comes. Because remember, when you put a stop loss, a TP in there, it's not on your computer, it's on the market, and those guys can see it. And let's say, well, doesn't matter on the day or 50, you put it 15, it doesn't really matter, get the point. You're going to sell this one with your stop up there. Well, why am I putting the stop up there? It's above the high. Well, that's where most people are going to put it, right? And it's clear they're going to see a whole load of stop. What is the stop loss? You're going short buy orders. So they're going to sort of push it, grab it, and then come off again. Not so much in currency, don't have panic, but certainly on countries that don't have enormous volumes on their markets. Absolutely, yes. That's why I don't say you do it, but a lot of top traders will have a horizontal line for the stop and TP, and they're disciplined to take it because they don't want everyone to know where the hell it is. But don't you make a habit of it. And to say, I wouldn't worry on that too much because we don't have a JSE, and the big volume one is to a lesser extent. I mean, to push Apple one way or the other, it's just going to take a lot of institutional money, and the legal restrictions on it are extremely high over there. Is it worth it? You can go to jail. Never mind getting a fat fine, you can go to jail if you get too cute with it. And you think we're a little bit regulated here, you should try over there. You know what I'm saying? So we don't have many more. Waffling on a bit here, but we don't have any more. So it's interesting, you're quite right, but it's not a problem from that point. Oh, it's a worldwide brand. It is. I'm telling you right now, I've never had a heroin, never had real power, but I'm pretty sure that they're both very, very addictive because, as I say, when you get your heroin, apparently you'll kill your sister, your mother, your wife, whatever for it. Apparently power seems to be the same sort of thing. Never had that kind of power, but it seems to, you know, if you look at some of the history of these very powerful people, they seem to, you know, in the end, it gets them sort of thing. But it is when it comes to money, unfortunately, you do have corruption. It's just the way it is. But it is disgusting, yeah. But it's yeah. As the old joke says, what do you call a guy who's got a gun pointing at you? Sir. Simple as that. It's about power. And that's what all this trying to crash Trump's all about. Because they don't want him in. They want to maintain their power. It's nothing to do with all the other reasons they're putting out, whether he's a liar or a good guy or bad. That's not the point. That he is a threat to their power, and that's what it's all about. They're using all the tools they can do to corrupt you and the democracy to do it. Should we actually AYN and Rand should look her up on YouTube, and I tend to agree with her. It's democracy, unfortunately, is just open to corruption as a result of it.
Roger, for me, it's like price fixing. The guys decided the smart money exactly what they want the price to be. But the only legal institution, to my knowledge, that can do price fixing is OPEC. Did you think about that?
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. But even then, because the big players, Saudi, but you got to remember as well, some of the smaller players in there, they very reliant on the oil revenue coming in. So they don't always play the game. You know what I'm saying? But we talk about that more than I thought you were going to say is the Federal Reserve. Remember, it's not the Federal Reserve's backside, it's a central bank. People think, because it sounds good, they say Federal Reserve, it's some sort of democratically elected area. Nothing to do with it. It's a bank. And they tend to sort of set the, they set the plan and maneuver around that, if you like. But I'll put it better. But they're trained to be corrupt. Well, it seems to be, if I dangle $1 million, you never had much money in your life in front of you, I think more DC seems to go out and the money takes over the brain. I think Shakespeare said, money is the root of all evil. Or no, actually didn't. He said, the love of money is the root of all evil. And it seems to affect everybody.
Well, I can just say from my experience is that the first time I started trading, the one day when I saw that my stocks rose like by 1,000 rand, I almost did cartwheels inside out, upside down, any which way I could, because I just saw how quickly this money moved. So I can understand in a small way how if you dangle $1 million rand in front of somebody who's never had it, how they can get very excited to do anything you want them to do.
In a nutshell, that's what I'm trying to say. Much better put. That's exactly it. Yeah. Okay, Chantal, we are waffling on a bit, having a discussion. There's not much happening in the markets. It happens occasionally. Any value got out of it, I'm pleased to hear about it. Major thing is in sit in your hands at the moment. You're in trades, let them run. Don't take your profit too quick. But great to have you, Chantal. Some to get very exciting times, some pretty quiet times. Okay, going back to what Pedro says, you're absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunately, in fact, talking about that, interesting was, I think it was quite a few years ago, I was listening to a professor in psychology speaking on 702, and to show how corrupt money is, usually in a relationship that does the most damage. Interesting. I'm not saying, I'm repeating what she's saying. It's not whether one is unfaithful or the kids or whatever. It's when you stuff your partner around on money. And that really shook me up. You know, I was thinking, you automatically think no, because the hatred comes in because your partner had an affair or did something like that behind your back or whatever. But apparently, the biggest psychological damage done is when the partner pulls a fast one on money. So that I thought was quite interesting. It goes back to the fact we're all money addicted and power addicted, and basically, if you get the chance, I think we'll all be fairly corrupt. I mean, I love animals, and I love the rhino. If someone offered me $1 million to shoot a rhino, however much I love them, could I be honest with myself and say I wouldn't take the bucks? You see my point? Yeah, that's what we must all ask ourselves, you know. We all say, oh, that's wrong, that's disgusting, that's bad. But if somebody comes up and says, look the other way, I'm carting this heroin, it's going to do a lot of people a lot of damage. But if you look the other way, I'll give you $1 million. And, you know what I mean? Would you take it? Yeah, that's it. You know, so it's pretty scary, yeah. Anyway, we're drifting along a little bit here. Not saying I'm coming up with anything sort of brilliantly brand new. Thanks for your support in a rather quiet time today. I hope we can get some sense out of the market tonight and find we can start selling the Aussie dollar and buying the Swiss franc or something. Okay. Well, the Brent's doing well. Yes, it's not doing too bad, actually. Yeah, you're right. Brent's doing well. Don't forget, guys, thanks for the reminder there. If you're in Brent, don't go in now. Don't chase it. But if you're in Brent, you can move your stop loss into, I think, 73.50. So you're going to make a profit whatever happens, just in case some funny stuff comes in, and hope it gets further up the line. But yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I think I'm probably boring you a little bit now. Before we wind it up till this evening, any other quick questions or you're not quite sure about? Just to clarify, I think Christopher, Skip, that is Chris. You got the moving averages sorted. I hope you all have. Don't forget to save them. Okay. Good. Okay, all right, guys. If we're all good, should we wrap it up then and catch you tomorrow? And hope we have a very exciting one tomorrow to make up for today. And keep it in the yeah, definitely, yeah. Remind me, guys. Keep keep a pen and paper handy. See things during the day, jot it down, and just a reminder coming in and can be discussed. Okay, guys. Yeah, sorry it's a bit of a quiet one today, but these things happen. Just hope these things work out. Okay. Good stuff. Cheers, guys. And we're all kicking the same goalposts. We're all each other's side. We are a team and we'll pull through. Okay, cheers.